Johnny Sack doesn't escalate by raising his voice or threatening violence. He escalates by refusing to move. Once he plants himself on a principle, everything around him freezes. The room doesn't explode, it tightens. Everyone else is forced to decide how much pressure they're willing to tolerate just to keep things going. Tony senses this almost immediately, even if he can't fully articulate it. His entire life has been built around volatility that spikes and fades. Arguments burn hot, compromises get reshaped, tempers cool, and business continues. That rhythm has always protected him. Johnny disrupts it by denying time its usual role. Nothing softens. Nothing drifts. Once something matters to Johnny, it stays unresolved until it's corrected. As minutes stretch on, conversations don't loosen, they become heavier. What starts as tension turns into weight. Apologies stop being options, momentum dies. Tony keeps pushing forward the way he always has, only to realize that movement itself means nothing here. Johnny introduces permanence into Tony's world. Some decisions don't blur, some lines don't fade. Tony survives by keeping everything adjustable. He believes every problem has an exit if you're clever enough to find it. Every situation can eventually be reframed into something manageable. Johnny sees that instinct as weakness. Flexibility in the wrong place collapses structure. That difference defines Johnny Sack's role in the story. He represents a kind of power Tony understands intellectually but never truly lives inside. They aren't really arguing about outcomes. They're operating on completely different ideas of what authority even is. Tony governs through calibration. He reads faces mid-sentence. He shifts tone instinctively. He knows when to joke, when to threaten, when to pull back just enough to keep everyone tethered to him. His authority is emotional and personal, which makes it strong but fragile. It has to be fed constantly through attention, fear, reassurance, and loyalty, often all at once. Johnny's authority feels nothing like that. It feels structural. When he enters a room, he acts as if the rules already exist and everyone knows them. He isn't trying to win people over or manage how they feel. When he speaks, it's because something has already gone wrong, and his role is simply to acknowledge it and decide what happens next. This difference is visible long before things explode over Ralph. Tony is always juggling slights, favors, alliances, and grudges, letting some things slide while reacting explosively to others. Johnny doesn't juggle. When he's disrespected, it's recorded permanently. Things are either resolved or unresolved, corrected or outstanding. For Johnny, allowing public disrespect to fade would mean admitting that boundaries are optional, and optional boundaries rot everything built on top of them. Unresolved disrespect contaminates business, alliances, and negotiations. None of it matters if the foundation is compromised. Tony sees this fixation as irrational. From his perspective, killing Ralph creates chaos that benefits no one. It destabilizes the crew, invites blowback, and introduces volatility he's spent his life trying to contain. He frames resistance as pragmatism, survival, damage control. Johnny sees something else entirely. To him, Tony's flexibility isn't wisdom, it's decay. Once structure bends where it shouldn't, it no longer holds. Correcting the insult preserves order. Tolerating it guarantees collapse. That philosophical gap keeps resurfacing in quieter ways. Tony treats his relationship with New York as a constant negotiation shaped by mood, leverage, and circumstance. Johnny treats those relationships as standing agreements. They don't change unless someone violates them. Tony expects friction, Johnny expects adherence. Even their use of silence reveals the difference. Tony fills it instinctively. He jokes, rambles, redirects. Silence invites judgment, and he rarely wants to sit with it. Johnny lets silence linger. He allows people to feel the weight of what they've already said. When Johnny becomes boss, the contrast sharpens further. Tony sees leadership as validation, something that's supposed to answer a hole inside him. When it fails to do that, he grows restless, indulgent, erratic. Johnny treats power as a constraint. Authority narrows his behavior instead of expanding it. He isolates, he becomes more rigid, more alone. That difference spills into their marriages. Tony loves Carmela, but he resents the expectations she represents. Their relationship swings between affection, guilt, leverage, and transaction. Johnny's relationship with Ginny is steadier, quieter. He doesn't need to announce loyalty. She represents something fixed in his life, something that doesn't shift with mood or convenience. Johnny's downfall follows the same logic he lived by. After his arrest, there's no attempt to spin the outcome into something flattering. He accepts it as the price of the life he chose. He pleads guilty, not to preserve status, but to spare Ginny prolonged humiliation. Tony never absorbs consequences this way. Every setback feels personal, every limit feels unfair. Survival becomes his organizing principle, even when it starts hollowing everything else out. Johnny Sack stands as a counterweight throughout the series. He shows what authority looks like when it's rooted in restraint rather than appetite. One man dies knowing exactly who he was. The other lives on, endlessly rearranging versions of himself, never quite settling into any of them.